We are coming to you from kilometer 4, a truck stop in Mozambique, Ressono Garcia. Of course, trucks come here to be processed before making their way to South Africa through the Lebombo border gate. Of course, earlier on we were at kilometer 7 in South Africa, where it is also a staging area or a truck stop for trucks that need to be processed before making their way to Mozambique. Of course, the two countries we saw earlier on, the Minister of Transport in South Africa and her counterpart from Mozambique, addressing the media and telling us about the plans that they're putting in place to ensure that they limit the number of trucks on the road. If we remember correctly, over the years we've seen trucks on the corridor into Mozambique and of course from Mozambique to South Africa waiting. So these plans that are put into place from now on this festive season are going to ensure that waiting time for truck drivers is shortened. We do know that over the years they've been complaining about the delays that they experience, the theft that they experience while they are waiting to be processed into Mozambique. However, this is changing all of that. These plans are going to change all of that. But just to speak to us about how these plans are going to work together or change the environment at the ports of entry is the Commissioner of BMA, Dr. Mike Masiapato. Dr. Masiapato, thank you so much for your time and for joining us at the SABC this afternoon. We are hearing what the Minister is saying and her counterpart from Mozambique. How are these changes going to change the environment, especially for the Border Management Authority?
Yeah, no, thank you very much. Maybe let's start by saying yes, this is basically something that we had done around 2023. However, when we did it in 2023, we did it at the port itself. But at that time, it did not have much of a bigger impact, primarily because at the port and at the bypass, the environment there is very much narrow. So now we have a kilometer 7, especially around the runway, which is very much open. And that is why we've created a very big space there, where we are going to be able to process a number of trucks at the same time. So what we have concluded today, which is very much fundamental, is the fact that there at the canopy in kilometer number 7, we are going to be co-locating with the Mozambicans. So we are going to be processing the truck that side to leave South Africa, but at the same time to enter Mozambique, so that when it leaves there, it doesn't have to stop at the port. When it reaches at kilometer 4 on the Mozambican side, it doesn't have to be processed again for immigration and customs, but they're just going to scan it. So once they scan it, it will go straight into Maputo Harbor. So that is how the changes are going to look like. So now we are going to do a lot of work on the basis of making sure that we effectively do the connection of the systems so that we are able to achieve this objective.
Of course, a lot of work is going to be put in this. I mean, we're going to be building. I heard the Minister saying it's going to look like a toll plaza, especially at kilometer 7. Does this mean more job opportunities are going to be created?
Yeah, you see, that part is on the basis of a full one-stop border post implementation within the context of the public-private partnership. So that one is going to be effectively starting to do some bit of work in the next year or in the new year. That is where there is going to be a lot of construction work that is going to be done, where we are going to do a full-time real one-stop border post. What we now have is an interim measure once again, but in terms of the actual construction, once the Triple P partner has been announced next year, they are going to start working together with the Mozambicans to make sure that their plans are aligned, to make sure that we are able to open up the port at kilometer 7 and make sure that we're going to have the line for the trucks, line for the small vehicles, line for the buses and all of those, including lane for the pedestrians, which we already have. So that is ultimately what is going to be the basic reality. The issue of employment obviously is going to be during the construction phase, but ultimately even during the actual implementation, because we will have to then open up the space and have more people actually working on the space.
Last question. Of course, this new program or how things are changing doesn't affect small cars and pedestrians at this point?
At this particular point, it doesn't, because the small vehicles will still be coming to the port. We will be able to process all the travelers on the normal pedestrian side, but we'll also be able to process the small vehicles in the normal port, as it were. What we are doing mainly is to deal with your trade, and trade in particular looking at your mineral cargo, because those are the ones that are a lot in number in the value chain. You will remember currently we are processing about 1,200 trucks per day. We are looking at least moving towards 2,000 or so that we can be able to make sure that we move all of them as fast as possible, but at the same time taking care of general cargo.
Thank you very much, Doctor. Dr. Mike Masiapato, BMA Commissioner, of course, explaining to us how these new changes are going to work and, of course, how they're going to affect truck drivers, especially. I mean, during the week we saw them complaining that they take too long, waiting days actually to be processed, and also for them to move from that waiting area at kilometer 7, only for them to come and join the corridor which leads to Mozambique. And of course, we do understand that at kilometer 7, they process around 1,600 trucks per day. Of course, these new developments will ensure or will mean that more trucks are going to be processed per day, making sure that they continue to lessen the time that they spend on the road. Of course, we are on the ground. Oh, I see the Minister of Transport is here. Minister, thank you so much for your time and for joining us at the SABC. I think this is a step in the right direction. It's good news, actually, especially for truck drivers. During the week, they were complaining that they spend hours at the staging area, kilometer 7, and then they still have to come and join the corridor before crossing into the border. This is good news.
Yes, indeed. I think the current situation with truck drivers having to wait up to 22 hours is really unacceptable. It's bad for trade between our two countries. It's not good for the export of South Africa's minerals through the port of Maputo. But of course, from a humanitarian point of view, it's really suboptimal. So I'm very excited by the interactions we've had today. I think on the South African side, we are developing closer relations amongst all of our management authorities that deal with home affairs, migration, customs, and of course the Cross-Border Transport Management Authority. But the long-term vision here is that there should be a one-stop facility, and what that really means is that when you're going to Mozambique, you're going to get processed once on the South African side. When you're in Mozambique and you're coming to South Africa, you're going to get processed once on the Mozambican side. So we have been able to share that vision today. To be effective, it's of course quite a complicated issue. It's not just about the direction of traffic. It's about integration of IT systems and of quite complicated permitting processes. But what has been exciting about today is the high level of willingness on both sides to cooperate. I think what both the Mozambican minister and myself understand is that Mozambique is South Africa's fourth largest trading partner. We deeply value our relationship, and it's therefore incumbent on us to make sure that there's a smooth movement of people and goods between our two countries.